Hello, everyone. Today, we're not just talking about trading. We're talking about what trading does to you. Because everyone sees the wins, the screenshots, the green days, the dream of quitting your job, working from home, and making money with nothing but a laptop and a chart. But almost nobody talks about what happens between the first winning trade and the moment you finally understand the market. The fear, the ego, the losses you don't post, the nights you can't sleep, the rules you write, break, rewrite, and finally learn to respect. This is the story of a swing trader, from the very first green candle to the level where money is no longer the only thing you're chasing. And somewhere in this story, you might recognize yourself. So, if you've ever looked at a chart and thought, maybe this is my way out, then pay attention. Because this is your life at every level of a swing trader. You remember that night? 11:47 p.m. Tuesday. The room is dark except for the pale blue glow coming off your laptop screen. Outside the window, the world is quiet. Your roommate is asleep. Your phone is face down on the desk, but you keep picking it up anyway, checking the same number again and again. You made $214 today. Not from your job, not from your boss, not from overtime, not from selling something online or getting lucky on a refund. You made it by looking at a stock chart, clicking a button, waiting, and then clicking another button. That's it. And some part of you knows $214 is not life-changing money. It won't pay your rent. It won't buy you a car. It won't make anyone at dinner stop and ask how you did it. But to you, it is not $214. It is proof. It is a crack in the wall. It is the first time you feel like maybe money does not have to come only from a paycheck, a manager, a time clock, or a life you never really chose. It feels like a door just opened. And for the first time in a long time, you are staring through it. You found this world 3 weeks ago. It started with a YouTube video. Some guy, maybe only a few years older than you, sitting in a car you could not afford, talking like he had discovered a secret language. He said words like setups, entries, risk to reward, breakouts, volume confirmation. He made it sound simple. Not easy, exactly, but possible. And that was enough. You watched the video once, then again, then a third time. By the fourth time, you were taking notes. You didn't understand all of it. Not really. But you understood the feeling in your chest when he said a regular person could learn to make money from the market. A regular person. Someone without a finance degree. Someone without Wall Street connections. Someone without rich parents, insider access, or a corner office. Someone like you. Just a laptop, a brokerage account, and $2,000 you had been saving since January. So you opened the account. Your first trade was Apple. AAPL, because everybody knows Apple. iPhones, MacBooks, AirPods, a real company. A name that felt safe. You bought it. It went up. You sold it. You made $47. And that $47 felt better than a full day of work. You didn't say it out loud, but your mind started doing the math. If you can make $47 in a day, what happens with a bigger account? What happens if you learn more? What happens if one day it's $200, then $500, then $1,000? What happens if this is the thing? Then you bought something smaller, something faster, a ticker you saw in a free Discord server. You didn't know what the company did. You were not completely sure how to pronounce the name, but people in the chat were excited. Somebody said it was about to run. Somebody posted a chart with arrows and lines. Somebody else said, "This thing is going to fly." The next morning, it gapped up 12%, and you were already in it. You rode it from $4.20 to $5.80. When you finally sold, your hands were shaking. Not from fear, from electricity, from the strange, dangerous feeling that maybe you were chosen. Like the universe had leaned in and whispered, "This is it. This is your way out." You walked around your room with your phone in your hand, opening your account again and again. You took a screenshot. You wanted someone to see it. You needed a witness. You told your roommate. You showed your girlfriend. You tried to sound casual, but your eyes gave you away. "I think I'm starting to understand the market," you said. You were not, but you did not know that yet. At level 1, the rules are simple because you invented them. Buy what's going up. Sell when it feels right. Check your phone every 9 minutes. Feel smart when the candle closes green. Feel chosen when the account balance goes up. Every night, after the market closes, you study charts like scripture. You learn new words the way people learn lyrics before they understand the song. Support, resistance, volume, float, moving average, breakout, pullback, stop loss. You say them out loud and feel smarter. You are not smarter yet, but the feeling is real. And right now, the feeling is enough. Every day, the market closes at 4 p.m. But for you, the day does not end there. The real day starts at night. You sit at your desk, scrolling through charts of stocks that already ran, trying to figure out how you could have seen them sooner. You draw lines. You replay candles. You imagine buying the bottom and selling the top. In your head, your future starts changing shape. You imagine quitting your job. You imagine waking up without an alarm. You imagine never asking permission to take a day off again. You imagine freedom. You think you found a shortcut. But the market does not hate you, and it does not love you. It is just waiting for you to come deeper. And you will, because the first green candle always smells like destiny. It starts with a stock called Luna. For 2 days, you see it everywhere. Twitter, Discord, Reddit, YouTube comments. Some account with 80,000 followers calls it a once-in-a-generation opportunity. Another guy says the price is criminally low. Someone posts a screenshot of a huge green gain. Someone else says, just hold. This thing is going to double. You do not want to miss it. That is the truth. It is not analysis. It is not a plan. It is not conviction built from research. It is fear. The fear that everyone else is about to get rich while you sit on the sidelines like an idiot. So you put in $800. Not huge, you tell yourself, but big enough to make your heart beat differently. Right after you buy, it goes up 9%. You lean back and smile. You knew it. You knew this one was going to run. You do not sell. Why would you sell at 9% when everyone is talking about 20%, 30%, maybe even 100%? Then it stalls. One red candle appears. No big deal. Just a little profit taking. Then another red candle. You check the chat. People are still hyped. Don't let them shake you out. Diamond hands. Only weak people sell here. You do not want to be weak. So you hold. Then it drops harder. Your account goes from green to red. First down $40. Then down $80. Then down $130. You tell yourself, it will bounce. Not because you have a reason. Because you need it to bounce. You need the market to prove you are not stupid. You need price to come back to your entry so you can get out and pretend this never happened. But the market does not care what you need. It drops 14% in 40 minutes, and you just sit there, watching it happen like a car crash in slow motion. Everything inside you is screaming to do something, but your hand will not move. You are no longer trading. You are being held hostage by your own decision. Finally, you sell. Down $190. That number does not destroy your life. But that night, you cannot sleep. Not because of the $190. Because of what it means. When you were making money, you thought you understood why. You thought you saw something. You thought maybe you had a natural feel for this. But now you lost money. And for the first time, you understand something much worse than being wrong. You understand that you do not know what you are doing. The first real loss does not just take your money. It takes your certainty. And certainty is what beginners always mistake for skill. After that, you start learning a new language. Not the language of charts. The language of the mind. You learn what it feels like to hold a losing position and convince yourself it will come back. You learn what hope costs. You learn the difference between a plan and a wish. A plan has an entry, an exit, a reason, a position size, a risk level, a condition that proves you wrong. A wish only has one sentence. Maybe it comes back. You start studying harder, not just YouTube anymore. Books, moving averages, candlestick patterns, risk management, probability, risk to reward. You had heard the phrase before, but now you understand it in your chest. You understand it through the sharp little pain that appears when a bad trade goes too far. You paper trade for 2 weeks. You hate it. There is no pressure, no heat, no blood in it. When the money is fake, you are calm in a way that feels fake too. So you go back to real money. And you lose again and again. Not every trade. That would almost be easier. The dangerous part is that sometimes you still win. One day, you make $430 in a single day, and it feels like redemption. Like maybe the losses were just tuition. Like maybe now you are back on track. But it is not skill yet. It is variance. The market gives you just enough reward to keep you in the game. You do not know that yet. All you know is that every time you are ready to quit, one big green day pulls you back in. Every time you think maybe you are not built for this, one winning trade whispers, maybe you are closer than you think. You start living between two versions of yourself. One believes you can do this. The other is terrified you are lying to yourself. During the day, you act normal. You answer emails. You sit in meetings. You laugh at work. You talk to people like nothing is happening. But inside your head, the market is always open. A stock you are watching. A setup you missed. A trade you entered too early. A loss you have not told anyone about. You still talk about the wins. But you begin hiding the losses. That is the first sign trading has stopped being a game and started becoming a mirror. And the mirror does not just show your account balance. It shows who you are when you are scared. Who you are when you are greedy. Who you are when you are ashamed. Who you are when you desperately need to be right. You thought you came here to learn how to make money. But the market has started teaching you something else. It has started teaching you how to see yourself. The first week of March, you open a spreadsheet. Nothing fancy, no colors, no inspiration. Just cold, empty columns. Date, ticker, entry, exit, position size, reason for entry, original plan, result, mistake, emotional state. You have read enough by now to know that traders who survive are traders who track themselves. Not just the market, themselves. On the first day, you fill it out carefully. On the second day, you get lazy. On the third day, you almost skip a losing trade because looking at it on the spreadsheet makes you uncomfortable. But you write it down anyway. And slowly, the spreadsheet starts doing something no Discord group ever did for you. It tells the truth. No hype. No comfort. No, hold the line. No, you got this, bro. No pretending you are a genius because you had one good trade. Just numbers. And the numbers are brutal. You overtrade on Mondays. You hold losers too long on Fridays. You take profits too early when a trade is working because you are afraid the market will take the money back. You size up after winning streaks, exactly when your ego is most dangerous. You trade best when you are calm, but you sabotage yourself when you keep checking your phone. You are not losing because you lack information. You are losing because you do not consistently do what you already know. That hurts, because before this, you thought you needed more strategies, more indicators, more courses, more alerts, more people telling you what to buy. But the spreadsheet is saying something different. The problem is not that you do not know what to do. The problem is that when real money is on the line, you do not do it. So, you write 6 rules on a sticky note and put it on the edge of your monitor. Do not enter without a clear setup. Define risk before entering. Never move a stop loss because of hope. Do not increase size after a big win. Do not trade angry. Journal every trade, especially the embarrassing ones. At first, you break almost all of them. Then you break them less. Then, one day, you get through a session without breaking any. Nobody applauds. Nobody knows. There are no fireworks. But something changes inside you. Not excitement. Not that electric feeling from the first win. Something quieter. Respect for process. Your account grows from $2,000 to $3,400. Slow. Messy. Not impressive enough for social media. But real. For the first time, you do not just want to win big. You want to trade well. Those are not the same thing. A beginner wants to win. A trader starts wanting to execute. You join a paid Discord. $49 a month. Inside, there are people with real money. One guy talks about taking $12,000 positions like it is nothing. One woman has been trading full-time for 3 years, and her voice in the chat is almost strangely calm. You study them the way you used to study charts. Not just what they buy, what they do not buy. You notice how they can say, "No setup today," and actually mean it. You notice how quickly they cut bad trades. You notice how they do not celebrate too hard after wins, and they do not disappear after losses. The market starts looking different, less magical, more mechanical, not a treasure map, more like a machine shop. Noise, movement, probability, mistakes, small edges appearing and disappearing. Traps dressed up as opportunity. You no longer feel chosen. That stings a little, but it is progress. Feeling chosen makes people careless. Feeling like a technician makes you check every bolt. You begin showing up to the market each morning, not to prove you are special, but to do a job. And that is when you start becoming different. You brag less. You speak with less certainty. You stop saying things like, "This stock is definitely going to run." Now you say, "If it holds this level, I'll consider it. If it loses this area, the idea is wrong." Your language changes. Your mind changes. Your ego is still there, but it is not driving the car all the time. You begin to understand that trading does not reward the smartest person in the room. It rewards the person who can repeat the right behavior again and again. When bored, when scared, after a win, after a loss. And the spreadsheet is still there. Every day. Quiet, cold, honest. One Wednesday morning in October, your account crosses $10,000. You stare at the number longer than usual. You are not rich. Not even close. But $10,000 feels like a milestone. Things feel more serious now. The trades are bigger. The swings are bigger. The mistakes matter more. Before, certain day trading restrictions forced you to slow down. Now you have more room. You can trade more often, react faster, take more opportunities. And of course, you want to. You start waking up at 7:30 a.m., not like dragging yourself out of bed for work, more like an athlete before a game. You make coffee, open your scanner, check news, build your watch list, mark levels, write scenarios. If it breaks above this level with volume, maybe you enter. If it loses support, leave it alone. If it gaps too far, do not chase. You have a morning routine now. Same breakfast, same desk, same order. No social media before the open. You learn the hard way that Twitter does not just put information in your head. It puts other people's opinions in your head. And when your head is full of other people's opinions, you stop trading your setups and start trading theirs. You are making money now. Not enough to quit your job, but enough to see the outline of something real. Enough to know this is not a complete fantasy. Enough to understand trading is learnable, but hard in a very specific way. It is not hard, like a math problem with one answer. It is hard like trying to keep a promise to yourself while the market keeps trying to pull you back into the weakest version of who you are. Then one day, you lose $600 on a biotech trade. Unexpected news hits. The stock gaps down. You were not prepared for that risk. Your position size was too large for a sector where one headline can change everything. You would have spiraled. You would have gotten angry. You would have revenge traded. You would have blamed the market. You would have opened another chart and tried to make it back immediately. But this time, you just sit there. It hurts. Of course it hurts. $600 is real money. But you do not break. You open your journal. Ticker. Setup. Reason. Mistake. Too much size in a sector with binary news risk. Adjustment. Reduce biotech exposure for 30 days. Check event risk before entering. The loss becomes data. That moment is bigger than it looks. Nobody sees it. Nobody claps. But inside you, a new structure is being built. You begin to understand that losing is not the main problem. Every trader loses. The problem is what you turn the loss into. If you turn it into a wound, you will trade to stop the pain. If you turn it into proof that you are worthless, you will lose confidence. If you turn it into humiliation, you will want revenge. But if you turn it into data, you can improve. You start thinking in probabilities. You have a setup that wins 58% of the time, with a 2-to-1 reward-to-risk ratio. Before, that sounded dry. Now, it is your foundation. You understand that one losing trade says almost nothing about your edge. A good setup can lose. A bad trade can make money. A winning trade can still be a mistake if you broke your rules. A losing trade can still be correct if you followed your plan. This is when you begin separating outcome from process. And that separation becomes one of the most important skills you ever build. You no longer need every trade to win in order to feel valuable. You no longer let one red candle define who you are. You no longer stare at your account every 5 minutes, asking the market, "Am I okay?" You still want to make money. Of course you do. But the desire is no longer sitting on your chest. You have space now. Space between signal and reaction. Space between fear and action. Space between a loss and the story you tell yourself after the loss. Inside that space, a real trader starts to appear. You quit your job in the spring. Not impulsively. Not after one big win. Not because you watched a motivational video and decided to burn the boats. You had been tracking your trading income for 18 months. Average month, $3,200 net. Some months, almost zero. 2 months, over $8,000. The consistency is not perfect, but the trend is real, and your job is starting to cost you something you cannot get back. Screen time, mental bandwidth, the ability to manage a position through a volatile afternoon without checking your phone under a conference table. You know the decision is risky. Your girlfriend knows it too. That night, you tell her before you tell anyone else. She is quiet for a long time, not because she does not believe in you, because rent is not paid with belief. Bills do not care if you have an edge. Real life is not a chart. Are you sure? She asks. You do not say yes. Trading has taught you to hate that word. Instead, you say, I'm prepared. Not perfectly, but enough to try this seriously. On a Thursday morning, you give your 2 weeks notice. 2 weeks later, there is no company laptop, no manager, no meetings, no salary, just you and the market. On the first day of full-time trading, you wake up earlier than usual. Your desk is clean. 2 monitors, reliable internet, backup hotspot, notebook, journal, rules, review schedule. You sit down like you are stepping into a new life. In your first month full-time, you make $100. $100. Almost nothing. The second month, you lose $2,400. That is when you start to understand that full-time trading is not a salary. It is farming in a drought. Some seasons give a lot. Some seasons give nothing. Even when you do everything right, you cannot force rain. You can only prepare the soil, protect your capital, manage your risk, and survive long enough for better conditions. The third month, you make $6,700. Not because you suddenly became 3 times better. Because the market conditions finally matched your system. You start planning like a business. Fixed personal expenses, tool costs, taxes, emergency fund, maximum monthly drawdown, money you can withdraw, money you leave in the account. Every Sunday evening, you hold a performance meeting with yourself. It sounds ridiculous, but you do it. You review the week. Which trades followed the plan? Which ones didn't? What emotions showed up most often? What time of day did you trade best? Were you increasing size because you just won? Were you avoiding good trades because you just lost? Slowly, you realize the trading system is only half the job. The other half is the operating system inside you. End quote. End quote. On active days, you manage $40,000 to $80,000 in open positions. When a trade moves a full point against you, the loss is no longer abstract. It has weight. You feel it, but you do not panic. You feel the weight, then follow the plan. This is when you start seeing things the chart cannot show. You trade worse after big wins. Not because the market changed, because you changed. You become too confident. You see average setups as better than they are. You skip small details. You think you are in flow, but really, your ego is driving. Strangely, you trade better after small losses. You are humbler, sharper, more careful. So, you start tracking emotions in your journal. Hours of sleep. Mood before the open. Confidence level. Stress level. Arguments. Pressure to make money. Need to prove something. Patterns appear. After poor sleep, you cut slower. After an argument, you enter impulsively. After a winning streak, you ignore risk. After a losing streak, you hesitate on good setups. You are no longer just optimizing the strategy. You are optimizing yourself. And that is when you know you are no longer just a student. You have become a practitioner. Not glamorous, not cinematic in the way you imagined, but real. You show up each morning like a craftsman entering the shop. Some days you produce something good. Some days you fix errors. Some days the best move is not touching anything. You begin to understand that freedom is not the absence of pressure. Freedom is choosing your pressure and taking full responsibility for it. And that responsibility is heavier than you thought. One Sunday, you are reviewing old trades, not recent ones. You go back months. You filter your best days, your cleanest trades, the setups that felt effortless. You are not looking for motivation. You are looking for structure. After a few hours, you notice something small. A certain group of low-float stocks with a specific volume signature in the first 15 minutes tends to behave in a similar way. Not always. Not magically. Not enough to print money on command. But there is something there. A reaction after the first breakout retest. Volume dries up. Price holds. Then the next move comes fast. You do not believe it immediately. You have paid enough tuition to doubt anything that looks easy. So you pull more data. Float, relative volume, gap percentage, news catalyst, opening range, retest behavior. You check 20 examples, then 50, then 100. It is not a massive edge, but it is real enough to test. Measurable, repeatable, under the right conditions. You do not post about it. You do not share it in Discord. You do not turn it into a Twitter thread. You test it quietly for 60 days. Small size. Strict criteria. No forcing. Every trade recorded. After 60 days, it still holds. Not perfectly, but profitably. For the first time, you understand a feeling different from making money. The feeling of owning knowledge. Not borrowed knowledge. Not a setup you copied. Not something you bought in a course. Something you found by doing the boring work most people skip. You have something that belongs to you. Your account is now around $180,000. You run swing positions between $30,000 and $60,000. A 4% move on a full position can be $2,400. That number used to make your stomach flip. Now, it is part of the job. You tell yourself, it is not numbness, it is calibration. Your nervous system has adjusted to the new size. But at the same time, you start seeing the market more coldly. Retail traders buying breakouts too late. Panic sellers dumping into the exact level patient buyers are waiting for. Institutions moving slowly enough that their footprints sometimes show up in the tape. You do not hate these people. You used to be all of them. You chased. You panicked. You held and hoped. You bought because someone online said a stock would fly. You become quieter socially. You leave most of the chat rooms. Not because you think you are better, because you understand noise has a cost. And when the account gets bigger, the cost of one bad idea is no longer small. The people you learn from now are fewer, more specific, more expensive. A $4,000 mentorship, a $300 per month data tool. You pay without drama because you understand the math of investing in edge. The market is not your friend. The market is not your enemy. The market is a machine, and you have learned how to read one small part of it. Only a small part, but that small part is enough to change your life. 5:47 a.m. You sit in front of your monitors while the house is still dark. The world outside is not awake yet. You can hear the hum of your computer, the coffee dripping, your fingers lightly tapping the desk. Before lunch, you manage more than $400,000 in positions. And the strange part is that it does not feel real anymore. Not because you are disconnected from reality, because the number has changed roles. In the beginning, money was emotion. $47 made you feel like a genius. $190 kept you awake all night. $600 put weight in your chest. Now money is the instrument through which the edge expresses itself. You cannot attach emotion to every dollar anymore. At this size, if every fluctuation touches your ego, you cannot make clear decisions. You have learned to separate yourself from the blood like a surgeon, not because you are cold, because if your hands shake, you ruin the operation. You have rules for everything. Sector exposure limits. Maximum daily drawdown. Weekly drawdown thresholds that automatically reduce size. Position sizing formulas that adjust with volatility. A hard daily loss limit that shuts you down for 24 hours, no matter how good the next setup looks. You design these rules like engineers design safety systems, not because you expect failure, because you respect it. You have watched too many good traders disappear, not because they could not analyze charts, because of 1 week without discipline, one revenge trading spiral, one oversized conviction trade. One this time is different. The market does not need to beat you every day. It only needs you to lose control once, big enough. You start helping two other traders. Not officially. They are friends. They have been in the game long enough to ask the right questions. Once a week, you talk. You review their journals. They review a few of your notes. They pay you in referrals, data, and perspective. It becomes its own little economy. From the outside, the market looks like buyers and sellers. Inside, there are quiet networks of people who have survived long enough to know humility is an asset. Your name starts showing up in places. Forums, DMs, private chats. People ask if you have a course. People ask if you run a paid group. People tell you to build a personal brand. You are not interested. You have watched people become personalities instead of traders. Attention is a trap. It rewards certainty. Big predictions, screenshots, hot takes, always having an opinion. But real trading requires the opposite. Silence, doubt, patience, 12, 12, patience. The ability to do nothing. The ability to keep your best work private. You do not want followers. The strange part is, you are not completely sure what you want anymore. That thought arrives on a Tuesday afternoon. A perfect trade. Clean entry. Correct management. Exit at target. $4,200 in 45 minutes. Years ago, you would have walked around the room, taken a screenshot, texted someone, felt your whole life expanding. Now you just sit there. Not happy. Not sad. Not satisfied. Not disappointed. Nothing. You write in your journal. Good trade. Correct execution. No emotion after exit. You stare at that sentence for a while. You do not know what it means. You do not know if it is maturity or loss. You do not know if you have finally become calm or if you traded away some living part of yourself for the ability to perform. You turn off one of the monitors. The room is silent. And for the first time in years, you ask yourself, if winning does not make me feel anything anymore, what exactly am I chasing? The question does not leave. It simply sits beside you. And from that day on, it opens the charts with you every morning. The money is real, but the isolation is more real. You cannot really talk about this with people who do not trade. Not because they do not care, because there is no frame for it. How do you explain that you have spent 6 years building a skill most of the world does not understand, in an industry people either worship or dismiss depending on whether you are currently winning? How do you explain that one undisciplined week can take back what took months to build? How do you explain sitting in front of a screen, watching a large position move against you, knowing exactly what you should do, while some part of you still wants to break the rule? 6 months ago, you had a bad week. Down $31,000 in 5 days. Not because the market did something impossible. Not because your entire system failed. You broke 2 of your own rules. You knew you were breaking them. And you did it anyway. That is the terrifying part. Not unconscious error. Conscious violation. It is seeing smoke, hearing the alarm, feeling heat under the door, and telling yourself, it's probably fine. You increased size when you should have reduced it. You re-entered after a stop. You turned a bad trade into an argument with the market. And the market does not argue. It just takes the money. On the 5th day, you sit in your room long after the screens are off. No music, no phone call, no explanation. You feel ashamed. Not because you lost money. You accepted a long time ago that losing is part of this business. You are ashamed because you saw the old version of yourself come back. The version that needs to be right. The version that wants to make it back now. The version that thinks years of experience should protect it from beginner mistakes. But the market does not care how long you have been trading. Every morning, it asks the same question again. Are you disciplined today? Not yesterday. Not last year. Not in your pretty journal. Today. It takes 8 weeks to recover from that drawdown. Not just financially, structurally. You change your sizing rules during drawdown periods. Automatic size reduction after a certain account drop. Mandatory rest after 2 losing days in a row. No trading the same setup again if the previous trade involved a process violation. You add a new column to your journal. Ego signal. It sounds strange, but you know it is necessary. Ego does not show up and announce itself. It disguises itself as conviction, as experience, as instinct, as the sentence, "I understand this market better than everyone else." You begin to see trading as more than a job. It is a psychological practice performed in an adversarial environment. Adversarial, not because the market hates you, but because it has no memory, no mercy, no interest in your rent, your stress, your confidence, or your personal life. It responds to orders, liquidity, supply, demand, panic, greed, positioning, and money flow. You can do everything right and still lose. You can do something stupid and still win. That is what makes this profession dangerous. It rewards bad behavior, just often enough for you to mistake it for talent. One evening, your girlfriend asks, "How are you doing?" You say, "I'm good." And when you say it, you think you mean it. The metrics are good. P&L is good. Win rate is good. Risk-adjusted return is good. Discipline score is good. You recovered. You improved. You did what a professional trader is supposed to do. But that night, staring at the ceiling, you ask yourself, what does good mean? Maybe you are good by every metric you track, but still alone in a way you do not have a clean name for. Nobody else felt that drawdown in your body. Nobody else heard the voice in your head when you wanted to break the rule. Nobody else understands that sometimes not trading is harder than trading. You realize freedom has a dark side. When nobody tells you what to do, nobody saves you from yourself either. When there is no boss, you become the boss. When there are no working hours, every hour can become a working hour. When there is no fixed paycheck, you have to learn to live with uncertainty without letting it rot your mind. So you start rebuilding life outside of trading. Walks without your phone, dinner without charts, one day a week without market news. Friends who know you as a person, not a P&L curve. Not because you love trading less, because you understand that if the market consumes your entire life, eventually, there will not be enough of you left to trade well. You need somewhere to return. A place where P&L is not the main language. A place where you do not have to optimize everything. A place where you can be human instead of a system. Part 9. Screens off by 10:15. You do not trade every day anymore. Not because you cannot. Because you have learned what selectivity is worth. The market does not owe you a setup. Some days, nothing fits. In the beginning, those days drove you crazy. You sat in front of the screen until noon, drawing extra lines, forcing opportunities, turning ordinary movement into signals. Now, if nothing clean appears by 10:15 a.m., you turn the screens off. You stand up. You go for a walk. You do not check the app. You do not glance at your phone. You do not ask whether you are missing the move of the day. It took years to become capable of that. Beginners think the skill is knowing when to buy. Survivors learn that the greater skill is knowing when to do nothing. Your account is now $740,000. That number used to be a fantasy. Now it means something different. Security, options, a cushion, the ability to say no. It does not mean you have arrived. You have been in this long enough to know there is no arriving. Only cycles. Seasons when the market is clean. Seasons when everything is noisy. Years when you feel sharp. Months when you reduce size and protect capital. Days when the best trade is shutting down early. Sometimes you think about the person at level 1. The one who made $47 on Apple and felt like a genius. You do not look down on that person. You recognize him. He wanted the same thing you wanted. A door out. A way to prove life could be different. Something that belonged completely to him. He was not wrong to feel the door open. The door was real. What was on the other side was just not what he imagined. He thought it was fast money. It was discipline. He thought it was freedom. It was responsibility. He thought it was the feeling of winning. It was quiet mornings, following a process nobody sees. He thought he would learn to read charts. In the end, he learned to read himself. Some mornings, you sit at your desk before pre-market opens. The monitors are still dark. The house is quiet. Your hand is wrapped around a cup of coffee. You hold the silence for 1 minute. No analysis, no prediction, no desire, just presence. And you realize, known, you built all of this. The knowledge, the system, the discipline, the capital, the rules, the recoveries. The older versions of you that had to die so this version could sit here. From $2,000. From a YouTube video. From a feeling in your chest that a door had opened. The door was real, but it was never a shortcut. It was a long, narrow road. Sometimes lonely. Sometimes brutal. But yours. Completely yours. You turn on the monitors. The charts light up. Candles begin to form. Somewhere tonight, someone is opening a brokerage account with $2,000. They just watched a video. And someone is on the basing. They just $2,000. Their heart is beating fast. They think they found the secret. They will buy their first green candle. They will make a little money. They will tell someone. They will think they are chosen. Then the market will teach them. First, they will lose money. Then they will lose certainty. Then they will lose the version of themselves that thought this was simple. And if they survive all of that, most will not. They will find out what trading really is. Not a guessing game. Not a get-rich-quick path. Not a place to prove you are smarter than everyone else. It is a long conversation with risk, probability, discipline, loneliness, greed, fear, and ego. A place where every trade asks the same question. Are you still in control of yourself? You look at the screen. No rush. No excitement. No need for the market to confirm your worth. You just do what you have done. Thousands of times. Observe. Wait. Plan. If the opportunity does not come, you shut it down. If it does come, you act. Not like someone chosen. Like someone trained. Because after all the levels, after all the wins and losses, after the sleepless nights, the journals, the drawdowns, the 10-15 shutdowns, you finally understand something simple. The market does not need to know who you are. But you do. You need to know who you are when you win. Who you are when you lose. So, who you are when there is nothing to do. Who you are when every part of you wants to break the rule. Who you are when a real opportunity appears, and you have to act without hesitation. Today, like every other day, you return to the screen, not looking for magic. Just doing the work you chose, the work that changed you, the work that never promised to be easy, but always told the truth if you were brave enough to listen. You breathe in, you breathe out, then you enter the trade. Not because you are certain, because you are prepared for both outcomes. If it works, you manage it. If it fails, you cut it. If there is nothing, you wait. That is all. And strangely, after years of searching for the market's biggest secret, you realize it was never complicated. It is doing the right thing over and over again, even when the right thing is boring, lonely, invisible, and does not make you feel special. You entered the market looking for freedom. In the end, the market taught you that freedom is not doing whatever you want. Freedom is no longer being controlled by every fear, every rush of excitement, every loud opinion, every green or red candle flashing in front of you. Freedom is being able to look at an opportunity and say yes. Look at a trap and say no. Look at an empty day and not force it into a trading day. Freedom is when you stop begging the market to make you feel special. You only need it to give you data. The rest is on you. And when the session begins, while the world outside chases fast promises, screenshots, overnight success stories, and easy answers, you sit quietly in your room. Not the main character in someone else's story. Not a hero, not a genius. Just you. Someone who once shook over a few dollars of profit. Someone who once lost sleep over a $190 loss. Someone who chased, held, hoped, broke rules, believed he was special. Someone who wrote down mistakes until they happened less often. Someone who learned to turn pain into data. Someone who saw his ego in the fire and built better systems anyway. Someone who knows tomorrow can still hurt, and still sits down today with the calm of a person who has accepted the game for what it is. You watch a new candle form. You no longer worship it. You no longer fear it. You no longer chase it. You read it. Like one sentence in a language that took you years to understand. Then you do what a real trader does. Nothing more, nothing less. You follow the plan. And that is when you realize you are no longer standing outside the door. You walk through it, not into an easier life, into a stronger version of yourself. And now, I want to hear from you. Which level are you in right now? Are you still chasing that first green candle? Are you learning from your first real loss? Or have you already reached the point where trading is no longer just about the money, but about discipline, patience, and controlling yourself? Drop a comment below and tell me where you are in your trading journey. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. And if this video made you think, if it reminded you of yourself, or if it gave you a new way to look at trading, hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel for more stories, lessons, and deep dives into the mindset behind trading. Because in the market, the chart is only part of the game. The real battle is with yourself. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.